Hello and welcome to my channel today. I am here with my friend Harry Thomas. How are you, Harry?
Really well, thank you. How are you?
I am good. Well, I'm saying I'm good. I've currently this morning I've just had a laser session on 4 tattoos. So I'm currently sat here with 300-degree burns in 4 patches. So a little bit painful, but other than that, I'm all
Rosie.
right. Yeah, it's not the best day, but I feel okay. So hopefully I don't go into too much pain. Just sit here still. So we are doing this video because how long have we known each other, Harry?
8, 9 years, I reckon.
Yeah, something like that. It's been a long time, and no, it might have been 2011. That's 10 years.
Yeah, so over 10 years then. Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
It 11 because it was before the Olympics.
that was it. Yeah, it's making me feel old now. Before the Olympics, Jesus Christ, forgot that was even a thing. Can you remember when that was like the highlight of the year? I don't even know what the highlight of this year is. I think we have one every week. It's nuts. But we decided to do this video because somebody sent me in my trading group that I'm in. Somebody sent me a video and said, "Oh, have you seen what this guy's done? He's come back through customs and he's got arrested and da 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 da." I was thinking, this looks interesting. I opened it up and it was you. I was like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing right now? So, for those people who have watched my channel before, I talk about everything, random stuff. I don't really have set subjects. I like to go down rabbit holes and I just like to bring people on that I know and love and that can have good energy with. Harry is one of those people, but he's been up to mischief and in a really cool area that I very much love, which is around the kind of law for mankind. It's the natural laws. Some of you might discuss them as common laws. They're all slightly different. But Harry, just in short, tell us what you did, please.
Yeah, so I've been living in Brazil for the last 5 months, which is a red zone country. I come back to see my parents, but on the government website it said you have to do mandatory quarantine for 10 days. I've thought COVID's been a sham from day one. I've had questions, very simple questions that I've never had answers. So I've never believed in it. And so I made it quite clear from the start that I wouldn't be doing mandatory quarantine. And I said that because it's not a law. Like whatever they've been telling us is the regulations that they put in place. I've looked into common law now for a long time, so I understand what we're entitled to and what we have to agree to. And the COVID regulations, I don't agree to any of it. So I thought, right, I'm gonna put this into play and go for it. And returned back to the UK, got confronted by immigration as I was expecting, and I just worked my magic. And one thing led to another. The police were brought in, and I was just asking questions. What law am I breaking? Well, you're breaking the COVID regulations. Yes, but can you show me what law that is? Oh, and they wouldn't let me in. £5,000 fine, just slapped on straight away. Can you get the police then, please, if you're not going to let me in? So they get the police in. The police then turn up, and I inform them of their duties too. So first of all, I asked them for their name, which they refused to do 3 times. Then I reminded them of the Police Act of '96, which they signed, and that's a 6-month prison sentence automatically if a police refuses to give their name. Then they were paying attention, and then I just went through the whole process of making them aware of the oath they signed, which they have to agree to. And then I read out if they're in breach of their oath, because I haven't broken any law, so they're really challenging me on that point. That was a 14-year prison sentence. And you could see the whole process changed from the authority to the energy was in my hands. And I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. Again, I don't agree with anything that's going there as well. So I just expressed my rights, did it in a very calm way. And I think that's what kind of baffled them quite a lot. But they still arrested me. So at this point, it was unlawful. And again, before this all happened, I was willing to take 24 hours in the prison cell because I know that was the longest that they could keep me in there. And they would have nothing on me, so they would have had to let me go. But that would have meant I'd have avoided a 10-day prison sentence in a hotel quarantine, which my friend said he's been in prison for 3 years, and he said you'd get more time outside in prison than you would in his hotel. So effectively, you're in a detention centre anyway. Yeah, the whole process went on. When I was in the cell, I then knew I was in control at that point because they were really trying to force me to go to the hotel threatening me with all this stuff, and I reminded him of his rights again. And I said, that's a 14-year prison sentence for you. And he's like, it wasn't me who arrested you. And I realised as soon as he said that, they were panicking, and they let me out 15 minutes after. The lady who was helping me, who was representing me as like the solicitor, but they still dropped me to the hotel. So they still wanted me to sign. And again, if you know your rights, when regulations are put in, we normally agree to it through 3 ways from contracts, and one of them would be the signature. So I made it out clear that I wasn't going to be signing, and then the hotel manager got very aggressive and said, "You've got to fucking sign," and I knew I didn't have to, and I said, "I'm going home," and he said, "Well, I'm going to get the police on you." I said, "Well, get the police on me. They've dropped me here." And yeah, it was just it was quite entertaining. But I recorded the whole thing, and I documented it, and the video went viral, which was a surprise for me. But since then, it's opened up a whole world of new people. It's really highlighted that there's a lot more people out there than what the media tell us, to say that we're not happy with what's going on at the moment. We do want freedom, we do want our rights, and I think it's a time period now where people are starting to take their power back, start to educate themselves. And I see I've got a big role to play in that now. So yeah, it's been an eventful 2.5 weeks.
I love it. Do you know, it's great to hear you tell your story. Thank you for making it so short as well. That was good. Do you know, I've known you, as we said, for 10 years, and I've seen your growth as a human being, as a being. I don't like the word human. It doesn't necessarily mean something as we think it does. So I see you as a being growing into your full self, that you are sat here today, and you're confident, and you're speaking, and, you know, you took action. You did something that most people wouldn't do. It's very interesting that you say you don't necessarily believe in COVID and this situation. I'd love you to just go into that and kind of what your reasonings are for that, so we can be a little bit clearer with the viewers as well.
Yeah, so the first thing I'd say to people listening is that we're all entitled to our opinions, and whenever you're looking for truth, if you disagree with me, then all I would ask for you then to show me the reasons why you disagree. But what happens over the years of all the alternative ways I've looked into stuff, there's certain things that should have a really simple answer. I'm not presented with any, but all I'm presented with is hate, anger, labels, conspiracy theorists and stuff. But I know this is my truth. So, okay, give you the obvious ones. The first one, October 2019, there was an event called 201. Bill Gates headed it up. It was a simulation of a global pandemic which come from a bat from a soup in Africa. And then they acted out in case this virus ever happened, and they had all the key people from governments and media all in place at this meeting. And lo and behold, 2 months later, there was this virus from a bat in China. What are the chances of that? So that was the first one. The second one, on the news in China, you saw people literally dying on the street, hazmats dragging people out their houses, and it created quite a lot of attention. Never saw that anywhere else. From day one, they've told us that the virus is a 99.7% survival rate. That means if we flip it, we've got a 0.03% chance of dying. Like, if I was playing poker and I had a 0.03 chance of losing, I would take that bet. I'd go all in. So they've given us a science. Then we can fast forward a tiny bit more. The masks, there's no justification. There's no science. So I always ask, can you show me the science to protect us from COVID? People would argue with me that I haven't got a mask on, but the same people argue with me would wear it going into a restaurant, then take it off sitting down, and then wear it standing up again. Like, why are you wearing a mask? It does not protect you. Go even more into the vaccines, which has now literally been the agenda since. There is no research at all to show this vaccine works, not one bit of information. There's a lot of evidence showing that, or there's not even evidence now, there's a lot of stories and personal accounts for people dying. There's loads of side effects. There's loads of doctors coming out now, credible people that I've been following for years. If you just looked at it from a child's perspective and you just showed them the evidence, there's not one person can put their hand up and go, I feel amazing from this vaccine. I feel really...
Yeah, I haven't heard that since.
Not once. But you see all the other stuff there. So literally it all falls down to these simple things that really, it doesn't make sense that we were even locked down, because it's a 99.7%. That really should just, if you can't go outside for a 0.03% chance, you've got more chance of getting hit by lightning. There's no point living if you're literally going to be in fear for a percentage of that number. And you're just seeing all the stuff on the TV. Everyone has questions, a lot of people, and they've never been answered. The justification for some of the things that they're implementing doesn't make sense. There's a lot of people that are, you see it, everyone's arguing with each other. There's divides, there's all this fear. None of that needed to happen, because the media literally show you all the most negative things possible. They show you these numbers. At the moment, you're seeing, I think I saw the stat, 35,000 cases per day. Who's getting their tests done? Because if you're vaccinated, you're fine. If you're unvaccinated, you don't believe in it, you're not going in for a test. So there's 35,000 is quite a lot of people doing it. And what's the case? Because the last evidence that come out, which I use quite a lot on the way home, the FDA and the CDC announced that the PCR test, the only test that you actually prove you got COVID, doesn't work. And they're actually discontinuing the test. So on the 31st of December, they're removing them all. But yet we're still taking in tests. We're still paying a lot of money to have this thing stuck up our nose. But they don't work. They actually tell us it doesn't work.
Yeah, Boris did an announcement that it was only 7% accurate. And I was just like, you 7% accurate? And you're telling everyone on the 6 o'clock news, but you expect them to pay £150 a test when it was? It's crazy. So, okay, so there's many reasons for your doubts around COVID. And being someone that had what they announced as COVID in actually Christmas 2019, I had what at the time was influenza B, and it had all the traits of COVID. I lost my taste, did everything else. It was long before it came out in March, or whatever came out. There are people contracting something, and there are people dying. There are definite cases where people have gone into hospital and lost loved ones, and also have been unable to see their families. It's segregated many families and many communities in many ways. So we're not, for anybody watching this, we're not denying the reality that you currently live in. We're not denying what has happened for you. We are questioning the reality that has been created around this conversation, around this narrative of COVID. Now, personally, I was involved in a law mentoring case a couple of weeks ago, and there's a case down here in Totnes where somebody is being forced to get a vaccination because they're unable to speak and communicate for themselves. So out of what the doctors believe is the best thing to do, they would like to vaccinate this person. However, the person who's in charge, the person who has the primary care of this person, is a friend of mine and is challenging that. And we were on a call the other day challenging the doctor who makes the decisions. And the doctor who is in charge of everything related to vaccinations for old people in homes, which is this current patient that we're talking about, was unaware that the results for the vaccine weren't available for the experiment, the global experiment that we're in right now, weren't available until 2023. He was not aware that there was a limited ingredient list. He thought the full ingredients had been given to the world and that we all had full information. He had no idea that there was a legal case preventing us from knowing the full ingredients of the vaccine. And on top of that, he really didn't understand that he would be wholly responsible for that decision. He kind of thought he had a government body to kind of hide behind, I think. And it was frightening for me to see a real doctor in a real conversation that I was part of. This wasn't hearsay. This wasn't secondhand. This was me speaking to someone who makes executive decisions regarding whether they're going to vaccinate someone or not. Didn't know all the information. And this is the cause for concern, I think, is that we're all being misinformed. We're all missing something when it comes to this conversation, when we're all missing something when it comes to the real story. So for those who have lost people in COVID, we send our regards and we're sorry for your loss. What we're doing is questioning the story around that. There is definitely something going around. There's definitely something that's causing problems. What do you think it is, Harry? Do you think it's, because they haven't also isolated the virus? As a law case in Canada where they've proven that they haven't isolated the COVID SARS-2 virus. So what do you think is actually going on?
Well, I think the one that I didn't mention as well was every year, I don't think people, and this is where stats come into play, I don't think people realise how many people every year die from flu. And every year there is a different flu and people do get ill. And there's some cases we get ill for a long time. So people did experience a flu-like symptoms, which some people said felt synthetic. It's still a new symptom and many people did survive it. Some people died. Someone gave me the stat today. In 2019, in January, the flu deaths, 64,000 from flu. If you look at the deaths from flu in 2020, there was none. They all disappeared. And then to add on top of that, and this is why I just think it was a straight swap, if you looked at the overall deaths for the year of 2020, and then you got the next 10 years prior to that, and you jumbled around all the numbers and removed the dates, you would not be able to tell me what year was COVID, because they're all same. So flu disappeared, COVID was suddenly there. Like, for me, there's a straight swap. So people said, oh, I had something. You could go back the last 10 years, and I reckon 5 of those years you'd say, I had a really bad cold maybe once of that year. Like, so just on that alone, people say, yes, I died from COVID. It's just a label that we've given it. We've died from something. And if flu disappeared, potentially it was just a bad flu. Because if we told everyone that 64,000 people die every month of flu, and we were kept being informed that'd be quite scary. But we've never had that data. We've never been shown it, but it's there. And this is the thing that I encourage people. Don't take our word for it. We're showing you, we're explaining where I'd say it's my truth, but that information's come from somewhere, and the information's not even difficult to go and find if you want to just take the time to go and look at it. And what I find, not even just in this subject, but literally in life in general, we want things handed to us, the easy solution, the quick fix, the magic pill. But we're not willing to do the work ourselves. And when I work with people that have been told they're going to die, when it comes to healing, they need to take that ownership themselves, because they have to make important decisions because it's their life on the line. So if we then take that and use it now to where we are in life, it's important that we start showing up for ourselves. And that's really empowering. So all this stuff, it might seem controversial, but for me, it helps you live a better life, and it helps you take ownership of your life, which you're in control of, which at the moment, there's such a disconnect.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, you're a man of fitness, and I say that because I used to work at your gym. I was a receptionist at your gym for a little while, and I look at what's happened, and I am fully respectful of the emotional trauma that people are in right now, for the problems, for the things that have come up, for the difficulties that we've had since this has been on our planet, and I fully get that. I'm not denying anyone their reality. What I would have loved to have seen as a response to this virus or to this problem is forced gym membership, basically. Go and get yourself healthy. Go and top up on your vitamin C. Go and make sure you get outside. Become the best and healthiest version of you so you can fight this naturally. It's the cheapest, it's the most effective way for you to actually get off your ass and make sure that your body can withstand whatever it is that's coming to it. I had a test the other day for my antibody test to make sure. I wanted to see what the situation was. And they say that you can only really have an antibody test up to 6 weeks after you've had COVID, because otherwise you won't be able to tell anything. Well, my COVID, if it was COVID, or my influenza B that I had in 2019, was the last time I was actually sick. The average, they call it kind of superhuman. If you've got 62 antibodies or around that, they kind of do plasma testing on those people. They make sure they're the really healthy people. I had 175 antibodies, and I have, and that was the most recent test. That was like last week I got the results. And all the instructions are there to tell you not to get your antibody test. Like, don't do it unless you've had COVID. There's no point. You won't know anything. And it's like, I definitely had antibodies. And I personally have chosen not to have a vaccine. If somebody else wants to have a vaccine, that's entirely up to them. That's their reality. That's what they choose to do. I'm not going to argue with anybody about it. I'm going to provide some information if they're unsure or they're a bit doubtful before they actually go and make the decision. It's like, hey, here's the information that I looked at. Check it for yourself. But once they've taken that vaccine, I wouldn't be sending them any information that is going to make them worry or panic. Only things that I know that they'll be interested in or they've talked to me about personally. And I think this is the problem that we've got, Harry, is a lot of people are in anger. They're in frustration, they're in depression, they're in vulnerability, and they're trying to get a decision based on that place where they're feeling really unsure about things. They're trying to create a decision in that space to be, so they can get some kind of grip on their own reality. So you have obviously spoken to a lot of people since you posted your video, and one of the biggest reasons that people choose to get a vaccine is in order for them to be able to travel. And when they want to travel, they say, oh, I've got mine so I can travel. I've traveled. I went to Stockholm, I went to Barcelona, I went to Ibiza, all without a vaccine. I was quite happy to do whatever I needed to do. I've also bent, my own rules around it, but made sure that I was super safe in the process. You've obviously traveled back from a country without a vaccine and managed to walk through that process because you've picked holes in the system that's in place. How many people, have you received a lot of attack from people from standing up and taking that stride? What has your response been like, or what has the response been like to your actions? And have you had any counter arguments with it and around it? And if so, kind of how do you feel about that?
I'd say just quickly, your microphone seems a bit quieter. It went a bit quiet.
Is that better?
That's better.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, I would say I've had more negative comments on my meditation posts than I've had on this. I've literally received, I think so my video went 250,000 views on Telegram on its own, and then YouTube and Instagram between them. So I've received quite a lot of interaction. There's been 2 negative comments. One was from a legal lawyer arguing that my story was like not real, and then trying to challenge me, which I don't need to get into that. It happened. It was my experience, and it worked. And then someone else just negative in his approach. You're always going to get that, but it's been just positive. And I think if you see the way that I've done the video and just the way that I approach life now, it's not my agenda. I'm not trying to get anything from it. I'm just telling you exactly what happened. I'm trying to inform people. I call myself a sharer. I share information that people maybe not necessarily had before. I'm trying to inform people that we all have our rights. We get bullied out of so many things. We get put into things that we're unaware of, and then within that we suffer from it. And there's only, I see, people at the top that gain. And like I mentioned earlier, the only stress that we get is arguing with each other. So one of my main focuses now is to help people just understand what we're entitled to as a human being. Doesn't mean if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. That's not what my experience was. It was coming back into a country and I hadn't done anything wrong. And that, it's been really good for me because I'm a coach. I had that doubt in my head. Should I post this on this platform? Because I'm not sure. And I've literally been thrown this whole new world of people all over reaching out. And now they're into spirituality, they're into healing, they're into self-development. There's a lot of people, and I think it gets lonely when you are having an alternative view on things. And me and Nat have been down this rabbit hole for a long time, so we've been ridiculed for years. But now it's starting to really highlight that there's a lot more people that are looking into this, and it's okay if you're unsure of things, and it's really important to be able to ask questions. But knowing that you've got a whole world of people behind you now, it's just. You're starting to see a massive collectiveness around the world of just positivity. Like there's a lot of fear and stuff and darkness at the moment, but within that there's obviously hope, which is what we all need.
Mm-hmm. I always I scrap hope. I choose faith. Hope is like, I hope it happens, which means it might not. But if I have faith, something's going to happen and it's going to be in my favor. That's my kind of level of faith. So I try to swap that out. We are going to talk a little bit about word magic shortly. Maybe chop this video up into 2 and kind of have 2 videos from it. But just going on kind of what you were saying there is the responses that we have. Nobody wants to have the conversation of I told you so. Nobody likes to be the one that's not in the know. We like to pretend we know. And if we don't know, we pretend that we do. And we don't want to sit up and say, hey, I'm not really sure what you mean. Can you explain? It takes a lot for some people to be that humble, to be able to have that conversation and to admit that they don't know, especially if they've made really strong moves, like getting a vaccine or whatever it is. And I've had a couple of conversations recently about people who have taken a vaccine and have had an adverse reaction, or know somebody that has and now feel in shame or in guilt that they've taken it when all the information was being offered to them before and they chose to ignore it. So a lot of people are going into that space being like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. I want to say that it's the most important thing you will ever do is to share how you feel. Don't sit in shame or sit in this misguided space where you're thinking, oh my God, I can't share this with anyone. The stress on your body and your nervous system is going to be 10 times worse if you don't go into a space of being able to share this. You're already affected in some way from a vaccine. And there are ways to be able to build up your own immune system. Nobody really knows what the effects are. I'm not saying you're infected. I'm saying you're affected some way. Nobody knows what the effects of the vaccine really are. The results are not until late 2022 and 2023, early spring 2023 for all of the vaccines that are available. So you have a long time to wait to see what's happening. And that's a long time to keep quiet and not say anything and not share how you really feel. So I encourage anybody that's listening or anybody who's having these conversations to be available to those who may be in that space of regret or maybe in that space of doubt and fear that wants to be able to talk to someone. They don't want to speak to someone who's going to preach at them. They don't want to speak to someone who's going to be like, I told you so, you got this. Like, no one wants that. We need to come from the most compassionate, loving spaces within ourselves where we actually can hold that conversation and we can hold that space with someone and allow them to speak, because we need to come from love. This space that we're in right now is a very dark place. We are being guided by people who come from very dark places that are not shining examples of positive beings on the planet. And we need to uphold that light ourselves. And so, Harry, in terms of kind of the conversations that you've had, have you had any people reach out to you that are in the regret stage or in the kind of guilt stage? And if so, how have those conversations happened for you?
My parents being one of them. They had the initial vaccine, and the thing is, like you said, there's been so many countless occasions where people are showing you, and some people maybe do it in the most aggressive, like you got to do this and demanding. But there's now like scientists, there's people, and so I think the first thing is acceptance. Like you can't hold on to it. It's happened, and we make decisions in our life where you look back and you're like, I wish I didn't do that. But if you hold on to it, that fear, that stress inside you, that still manifests. So there's no point. Just let go of that. But also just to accept that it's okay to be wrong as well. It's like, what do you do from this point going forward? There's so many people throughout this that are still holding on to their story because they don't want to be wrong. It's harder to admit that you're wrong than it is to admit that other people are right. So I would say within this is, again, take ownership and start looking at the people that have been saying the same thing all the way through, and try to find people that you resonate with, because it's not about I told you so, there you go. It's like we want to help people. Like, there's a human race here and there's a lot of suffering going on, but the only reason in the first place, and I'll speak for you as well, Nat, the only reason why we are vocal and we do look into these things, it's not, I get a buzz out of looking into child paedophilia and human trafficking stuff. I don't want to be doing that, but these things happen and there needs to be awareness to it. So it's almost like, imagine there's a dark place and there's a few people that are shining their light. Just go and follow the light. And yeah, I just think it's important now as to what's the next thing. Again, it starts with you, your health. What can you do at this moment in time right now? Things that you love doing. Let's get creative. Let's vibrate on a good energy. Let's take some time out for yourself. And you still have responsibilities in life, all the different roles that you play. It's not just you still. You could be a parent, you could be a brother, you could be a son. Like, we still have our roles to play. So it's almost like shake it off. How can I turn up right now as my best self? And then what can I do now to empower myself going forward?
Yeah, good answer. There's also, a few of the friends I know are in a position in their lives where they're having to stand by and allow, not necessarily allow, that's the wrong word, but to stand by and to support people who have made the decision to have the vaccine. And that's a very hard position to stand in, because if you genuinely believe that there's something wrong with this and you can see someone hurting themselves, you automatically want to save them. You automatically want to say, hey, no, don't do that. And, I described at the very beginning of this situation to a lot of people is, we're walking down the street and there's a car coming and you're on your phone. And I put my hand out and say, whoa, 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 don't cross the street yet. There's a car coming. Then you'd say, oh my God, thank you so much. God, you gave me the information I needed in order to save my life. It's the very same thing where somebody says, hey, you're on your phone right now, just look up. There's some information here about vaccines. It doesn't quite make sense. Do you want to have a look at it? And you're like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not a doctor. Why would you say? You're kicking off at somebody who is trying to help you maintain a life that you might want to live. And the response that people have with each other is based on, oh my God, I can't have this person telling me what to do. It's out of judgment, because people say, well, you're not a doctor. What do you know? You're not the maker of the vaccine. What do you know? And they literally have this, this anger towards people who don't know. But the decisions at the very top of all of our trees in every area of our lives at the moment, no one has been here before. We are all brand new in this situation. Everyone, regardless of where they've been to school, what they've learned, what they've studied, how much money they've got, what companies they're in charge of, everyone's going, I'm just going to do my best guess right now. We're guessing from every level, from here right up to the top. You can even talk about your Bill Gateses and all. They're guessing. They've never been here before. They don't actually know how this is going to work out. Yeah, they might say that they do and they want it to go in this direction, but they don't actually know. We might have a revolution tomorrow. Who knows? It's the scenario is nobody really knows what's going on. And if you're willing to stand in a space of the unknown and you're willing to say to yourself, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn, that is the safest place you can be. It's the only place you can be that's going to allow you the freedom that you're looking for. Otherwise, you're going to be guided over here and you go over here. Just as much as you might want to have and go and get the jab, you might want to sit on 12 hours and look down YouTube and make a decision to inform yourself. Whatever your decision is, it's your decision. Just make sure you come from it in a place where you're not coming out of fear. You're not doing it out of fear. You're not doing it out of pressure. You're not doing it because a family member told you so. You're not doing it because you want to, you want to go on holiday. You don't think you can. Make that decision from a place of love, an informed decision. And from that space, you'll be feeling like you've got integrity on both sides of your decision. And I don't think many people are doing that at the moment. For anybody that is watching, we're going to do another talk in a minute on word magic, which will actually, I think I'm going to put into a separate video because it's going to be part 2 of Harry. So we'll have the same outfits on, but we won't, we'll be having a different conversation. But for anybody who is watching this video, and if you are concerned in any way, please be kind. Feel free to reach out. But if you're going to make comments, type away. I'm completely indifferent to what comments you make. If you need to say something that you haven't said to for some time and you want to put it out there, go for it. I invite you to share your opinion. I'm probably going to regret saying that, but that's how we learn and grow, is being willing to allow the people to be who they are. So we are here. Also, I'll put Harry's details underneath and my details will be underneath. So if there is anything you want to discuss or talk about, we will be able to answer some questions for you. Harry, have you got anything else to add on this part before we go?
Just first of all, thank you for listening. Second one is take the time just to give yourself a space to do your own research. And there's a lot of stuff out there now as well. And third, on Nat's comment of leaving a comment, check in with yourself and is the comment going to be a personal attack, or is the comment going to be constructive with your opinion? Because it's nice to get your opinion rather than just being a personal attack. And I think that happens in life so often. You don't realize the personal digs, it's energy consuming for you as well. So it's just to be, we want the world to be a better place. I think we can all agree with that. Even if we don't agree with COVID or the COVID vaccines, we definitely want the world to be a better place. So just pay attention to the way that we treat each other.
Love it. Thank you so much. So for everyone else, we will see you on the next video. Stay safe, stay well, and we will see you then. Bye for now.
Yeah.